can the machine from the Ultrakill game beat or survive popular legacy creepypastas from the old internet? Well, in this video I will examine the machine and some creepypasta entities and see if V1 can beat the creepypastas. So let's begin with the robot machine that you play as in-game. Starting off with the arsenal, V1 has a bunch of guns and they do different things. The less destructive guns are still powerful as they can damage and destroy armored robots without issue, with just their primary fire. Using the secondary fire you can annihilate bigger robots without much difficulty. The larger guns that V1 has are stronger and more destructive, as they fire bigger bullets or a bunch of smaller bullets, and they typically have alternate firing modes that can be chained together to do quite a bit of damage. The strongest weaponry of V1 can completely melt the health of bosses and can reach destructive levels that can obliterate cities or even large landmasses. Now, V1's most strongest attack is throwing a bar of soap, as it does the max damage possible. For V1's most destructive attacks, including the soap, he can chain his arsenal to potentially reach levels of destruction that could possibly take out a considerable part of a moon if all variables are ideal. Other parts of V1's arsenal are his different arms. Got the blue arm that parries most attacks and also heals V1 after each parry. You got the red arm that creates a concussive blast that pushes all projectiles and enemies away. And you got the green arm that grapples. V1 in the game is also quite fast, as in gameplay many have likened his speed to being hypersonic when just running around, as his speed is similar to many of the in-game bullets, which move that fast. V1 can also use other movement techniques to temporarily boost his speed, as seen with the in-game mechanics, with him even being able to dodge light-based attacks with the dash feature. For durability, V1 is stated to have light armor plating in order to absorb the blood for refueling and healing, but he is able to get hit a couple of times with attacks that are comparatively powerful to his own, as seen with V2, the Prime Souls, the Corpse, and the Archangel. V1 also has some decent perception, as he can sense some incoming attacks even without looking at them, and he can see things that are moving at the speed of light. Now, if something moves too fast, then it will appear to be teleporting to V1, but he can still somewhat keep up and dodge, given that it's not too much faster than what V1 can perceive. So with that examination of V1 out of the way, let's now look at the creepypastas and see how V1 would fare. But first, I ask if you may like the video, subscribe, and enable notifications with the bell, and comment down below your thoughts, as this video is brought to you by me. No sponsors. So your support is greatly appreciated and helps the channel out. So with that shameless call to action out of the way, now let's get into the pastas that are creepy. An old sleep experiment done in Russia, where researchers had several subjects in a closely monitored chamber where they were sprayed with experimental chemicals to see if they could finally bypass the biological need for sleep. The researchers were partially successful, but the subjects were irreparably changed and mangled from the experiment. The subjects somehow became stronger than any person after this experiment, as they now started to look not human. From the original piece and some other small bits of extra Russian sleep experiment media from around the 2010s, these subjects became a couple times stronger than any normal person, getting to a point where they could mangle and easily tear off parts of the researchers. They also got much faster, as they could easily outrun any researcher. The subjects also became far more durable and relentless, as even with extreme blood loss and deep flesh wounds, they can still run around and fight with little issue. Now, apart from superhuman enhancement that came from sleep deprivation somehow, the subjects have no other standout abilities or feats. So how do the Russian sleep experiment subjects do against V1? Well, V1 would have little issue, as even a filth from the game is just enough to take on the sleep experiment subjects, as they are only a few times stronger than a normal person, whereas most of the common enemies in Ultrakill are far stronger and deadlier, since they come from literal hell. So a bit of a lackluster matchup, so let's move on to some stronger creepypastas. A fella called Jack had his body mangled and his eyes taken out as part of a ritual that he was forced to be sacrificed for. This ritual partially failed, and now Jack goes around taking kidneys and doing serial killer things because in the process he died and his body was possessed by something non-human. From this possession, the resulting creature, Eyeless Jack, became far stronger and deadlier than any person, as now Jack can break through walls to get into houses and can take quite a lot of damage, as he can be shot and thrown through buildings, as described in some old creepypasta tales. He is also quite stealthy, as in the original story and a few others. He is able to easily sneak his way into a house and surgically remove kidneys, without anyone noticing. So, could V1 beat Jack with no eyes? Well, yes. Although Jack is much stronger than a Russian sleep experiment subject, he is still not too close to V1, especially in speed. Now, V1 can get hurt by weaker enemies like the Filth, but they have to be fast enough to reach the machine to hit him. And Eyeless Jack is never really described as being any faster than a vehicle. A fella called Jeff had a run-in with some bullies from school in which they attacked them. During this exchange, his face got burned and disfigured by a thing of bleach. He ended up becoming a serial killer by the name Jeff the Killer, as now that weird feeling in him started to take control of him after vanquishing his bullies. In other legacy creepypasta tales with Jeff, he somehow gets far stronger, being able to take on strong creepypasta characters like the Slenderman. From these legacy tales, Jeff the Killer is capable of dodging point-blank shots from guns and can probably destroy a building if needed, as he has faced foes who can destroy buildings, and he can take several hits from them and even survive severe blood loss and parts of his body being torn off. So, will V1 be Jeff the Killed, or can he Ultrakill Jeff? Well, let's see. Jeff is quite a bit stronger than the other creepypastas mentioned, and is surprisingly fast from the descriptions of some of the other stories. This makes Jeff a threat to V1, as he can almost keep up with the robot in combat, and may even be able to dodge some of V1's projectiles. But he is unable to Jeff the Kill V1, as the robot is still a bit faster than him, has guns which could destroy him, and V1 is more durable than Jeff, making it so that just by taking into account pure stats and no combat skill, V1 wins against the Jeff. From the forest, a strange humanoid creature with sharp claws and pointed teeth comes out to hunt people and eat them. The enigmatic creature eludes observation as it's extremely stealthy. Very few instances of the creature are captured, as it has a tendency to glitch out cameras. Its body is gaunt and emaciated, but surprisingly strong, as in some of the legacy tales, it can keep up with the likes of other creepypastas like Jeff and avatars of the Slenderman. Now, the rake prefers sneakily attacking its victims, as it draws far less attention, but the rake has also shown similar levels of destructive ability, durability, and endurance as creepypastas like Jeff. Other notes on the physiology of the rake is that it can regenerate from large flesh wounds, unlike some of the other popular creepypastas. The rake also has a few supernatural abilities like teleportation, mind manipulation, functional immortality, and even something called the Omen of Death, which is that any name that the rake whispers will eventually die, either by other causes or by the rake directly. So, can V1 take on the rake? Well, let's see. Comparing stats, V1 is still stronger and more durable than the rake, and even faster. Teleportation does help it to keep up with V1, but not enough, as V1 can dodge characters that are much faster than it, even if they are so fast that they appear to teleport to V1. Most of the other supernatural abilities from the rake don't really help it out in a fight, with the exception being the Omen of Death ability and the camera glitching ability. Now, if the rake whispers the name of V1, then the rake damns the robot to die. V1 would still defeat the rake, but may perish later, as the Omen of Death seems to not have much of a limit in who it can affect. A suited entity from the darkest places. It comes out to take victims to do dastardly things and make them his proxies, or to impale them on branches and leave them to rot, depending on the continuity. From the mythos and tales, the Slenderman is either an avatar of a much stronger entity, or it is the entity. Either way, it's one of the more powerful and dangerous creepypastas from the old internet. Its behavior and some of its abilities do change from even closely related bits of media, but the constants for the Slenderman are: it has tendrils in which it can use, it can teleport, it causes major disruption to any recording technology, can use telekinesis, and has minor to major reality warping with possible time manipulation, pretty good regeneration, fire control, and mind control. Now for actual stats, I will consider two versions of Slenderman. The original Mythos with added lore from legacy games, and the extended Mythos Slenderman version. From the original Mythos, Slenderman is not shown to do much. He is unaffected by conventional weapons, but can be attacked and damaged by other creepypastas. He can create proxies, which are people he controls and possesses, which are comparable to previously mentioned creepypastas like Eyeless Jack. From other legacy tales like the Princeton Project, Slenderman is able to handle a tiny black hole, which was used to summon him, which people have calculated to be destructive enough to destroy a mountain. For speed, this version of Slenderman is a bit faster than Jeff, as he is the stronger creepypasta in the Jeff vs. Slenderman story. But now, for the extended Mythos Slenderman. He is on a universal level for his 3D form, and a multiversal level for his true form, as he can control and manipulate several timelines and universes. So does the Slenderman Ultrakill V1? Well, let's see. For the earlier and weaker original Mythos Slenderman, with some added bits of lore from stories around the same period, Slenderman is quite a powerful foe for V1. His speed is close to V1, his attack potency is similar if not slightly stronger than V1, and he is more durable as he can regenerate from attacks, and is usually defeated with rituals and other supernatural means rather than pure attack power. So Slenderman from the original Mythos versus V1 would be a close fight, as V1 would have to figure out the method to defeat Slenderman, as he keeps the suited fella at bay. Now extended Mythos Slenderman versus V1 is a complete defeat for V1, as even the 3D avatar of Slenderman is far beyond V1 in terms of stats, and it has hacks abilities that completely trounce V1, even if V1 has a lot of blood to heal and refuel. So in conclusion, V1 is able to take on quite a few old internet creepypastas, as many are simply not that strong when compared to it. Now, some creepypastas are deities in their own respective stories, which puts them on levels of power in which they can manipulate reality, time, and in some cases, timelines. These stronger creepypastas are far too strong for V1, as V1 is not capable of taking on deity-like beings.